embarrassing situation can often come across as the worst thing that can ever happen in your life, and some people would even choose death over it. The recent Oscar incident where Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith can be considered as a classic example for an embarrassing situation. It is not just an embarrassing situation but can also be considered pure violence directed towards him. So, how did he react in this situation? Like, honestly, the way he reacted was really good, and kudos to him, because most of us would react to this situation in a bad way, or we might even really collapse. So ask yourself, how would you react when you are faced such a situation? How did Chris Rock get this kind of emotional balance? And is it possible for you to achieve this stoic like emotional balance? I think so. So stay tuned and we'll talk about that. First, let us think of situations where we might have been embarrassed. This could be when you were trying to give a speech and you forgot about it, or where you were cracking a joke and no one understood it, or a particular food particle was stuck in your teeth throughout the day. It could be anything. And one thing that you must understand is that embarrassing situation, we get embarrassed when we feel like one of our flaws or one of our weaknesses has been caught. This means that we might lose some of our dignity. How do we make assumptions of what is our strength and what are our weaknesses? You see, when we were kids, we were dependent on others for our survival. These others can be our parents, teachers, or people we look up to. So it was impossible for us to get a first-hand experience of everything, and we learned in a second-hand manner, that is through what they taught us. So the traits that they accept or encourage are the ones that we show outwardly, and the traits that are not accepted by them, we take them and we repress them into our unconscious mind, but it's still there, it is still a part of us. When in certain situations our fight or flight response get triggered and the repressed personality start to surface. So during this situation, we start experiencing inner turmoil or a tug of war between our inner personality and our outward mask. To explain this further, I'll take an example from my own life. I know this incident really well because it has become a core memory in my life. So back when I was in 4th grade, I was asked to spell the word cuff, but I ended up spelling calf, and this led to the teacher laughing, and she was followed by all the students. So now when I think about it, I consider it to be a pretty funny memory, but back then this triggered my fight or flight response. This is probably how my subconscious mind might have reacted at that moment. They're all against me, I'm different, I made a mistake, I cannot fit in this environment anymore, I cannot survive here anymore. And please take the note that no matter what happens, Varsha, never speak up again, never take the initiative to answer the questions, even if you know the answer, because answering a question can be humiliating. Humiliation means you will be thrown down the social hierarchy, which might threaten your survival. Similarly, there might have been several such incidences and things that might have made us push several of our traits into the unwanted bucket somewhere in the unconscious mind. And eventually these filters led to what we are today. And whenever a situation arises where we are asked to take out a trait from our unconscious bucket, we get into this whole panic mode and the whole fight or flight response. Any embarrassing situation can create the same social anxiety because being embarrassed is not considered something cool. No one is ever going to be like, whoa, this is a great opportunity to be embarrassed. Why don't you go ahead and try it? Nope. No one ever actually does that. Being in an embarrassing situation is like getting unwanted attention towards your flaws and mistakes, which might be the ones that you might have repressed long ago. And you might feel like, yeah, you are going down the social hierarchy and everyone is above you and they're all looking down on you, and you might go like, oh no, and then the whole fight or flight response begins, and this would further lead to a more embarrassing situation, and then you might end up running for your life. Now let's go back to the example that I took earlier, Chris Rock. So he could have reacted in any of the following ways. Like, he could have slapped Will Smith back, creating this whole fight scene on the stage, or he could have just stood there completely frozen and in his mind he could have been like, oh no, I was just humiliated, I was just slapped by one of the most famous actors, I don't know what to do. Or he could have just thrown the mic down and be like, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore, I was humiliated. Or he could have just cried and run off. But what did he do instead? He just laughed, spoke out his mind, and went on with the show. How does one achieve this kind of confidence? It all starts with a good foundation. If there is no good foundation, a building might collapse the moment it gets even the slightest pressure. So when you aren't sure about yourself, you're definitely going to be embarrassed when a situation arises. Self-awareness is an important part because when you are aware of your own reactions, you will be able to analyze it and be able to react in certain ways. So this might not be as cool as what Chris Rock accomplished, but back when I was in college, I think I was in sophomore year, and we had this English class going on. The teacher was teaching this poetry called Mending Wall by Robert Frost. So I have this tendency to read poetries earlier and then I have the tendency to get distracted. I'm a kind of person who's better as a self-learner. So I was distracted and I was laughing at something and I got caught. The teacher was like, Varsha, why don't you stand up and give us a summary of the particular poetry? Now, the moment she caught me, I was frozen and my inner voice went like, Varsha, don't speak. If you speak, you are going to humiliate yourself. But in this moment, I became aware of my inner voice and I realized the whole fight or flight response that was happening. I noticed it and I decided to go against my inner voice. I went ahead and I gave the summary to the teacher, and the moment I completed giving the summary, the students started clapping and I realized that this particular memory, which was supposed to be an embarrassing memory, turned out to be a really cool memory. Challenging your inner beliefs and understanding what actually causes this embarrassment or the social anxiety will help you in dealing with the situation the next time a similar situation arises. Many of our core beliefs were formed during the first 10 to 13 years of our life, and during this phase, the thing is we are extremely vulnerable and sensitive. The people and also the powerful experiences have a huge impact on us. These memories remain in our unconscious mind, and when a person or situation triggers these memories, what happens is that our brain starts releasing all these powerful chemicals associated with this memory. This was a survival mechanism that was inbuilt in our genes hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and this may not be as effective or useful in our modern society. When an embarrassing situation occurs, rather than letting your internal world dominate you, you would become more aware and you would be able to manage it. You might be able to set your frame in such a way that if in case an embarrassing situation arises, you would be like, that's fine, and you will continue with the show because that is your goal. Or you might be able to put yourself in a second person perspective, just like how Chris Rock went ahead and put himself in a second person perspective and considered the whole situation funny and went like, whoa, I just got the shit slapped out of me. Now let's take another example, a baby. So this baby is learning to walk and suddenly falls. How would this baby react? It depends on how the parents react. So the parents are going to be like, oh no, my poor baby. The baby is immediately going to get into this whole panic mode and start crying. If the parents are going to be like, that's fine, go ahead, get up, continue walking, the baby is definitely going to do that. Or if the parents go like, that's so funny, that's so cute, then the baby is going to be like, wow, I just entertained my parents, and the baby might laugh too. The only difference between this baby and you is that now you are the adult and you are the baby. So your reaction is going to depend on how you see the situation. If your auto response is going to be like, oh no, I was humiliated, you are going to be in a panic mode and the whole fight or flight response is going to take place. You might even go through this whole self-fulfilling prophecy where you feel like everyone is going to get you. Or if your auto response is something like, that's okay, then you will definitely feel like everything is better and you might be able to go ahead with the whole show. If you genuinely believe that what happened is funny, then you might even be able to make the people around you laugh with you, creating this whole happy atmosphere. It all depends on how your mind frames the situation. You see, we are humans and humans are prone to making mistakes. There's even this phenomenon in psychology called the pratfall effect, which states that the person who tends to make mistakes, everyday mistakes, are considered more likable than the ones who try to be perfect. So try to embrace your imperfection. You see, no one has a 100% guarantee that they would never face an embarrassing situation in their life. So instead of looking for all the tactics and techniques to apply at the moment, if you change the core belief, you would be able to see the world in a more positive light. Your brain will automatically learn to frame the situation in a positive light, and this would help you to create a more positive self-fulfilling prophecy. To quote the famous Aristotle, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So that's it for my today's video. I hope you find this particular video useful, and also if you like this particular video, please click on the like button, and if you want to see similar videos where I'll be speaking about different aspects of your social skills, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button. Thank you.